don't know.
What I told you, Cutter.
People seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they just don't know.
Huh?
People,
Let's go.
people seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Gani. And we're here on 910 Sports once again. You know what I'm saying? For another great show. Another great opportunity, man, to get it right. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank God for this opportunity. To be able to be here with my right hand man. You know what I'm saying? Your baby mama favorite host. You know what I'm saying? The Dallas Cowboys biggest supporter. You know what I'm saying? And the whole nine. What's going on, Jacob?
What up, man? What up? How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So, excuse me. So, today we're gonna be talking about. Let me get it out. Let me get it out. We're gonna be talking about. We're gonna be talking about the college basketball. You know what I'm saying? Final Four weekend. Had a great weekend of basketball. We had the girls. We had South Carolina versus Connecticut. It really wasn't a great game, but I guess you want to say it's a great story. So I'll being that you more into the female basketball, I'll let you kind of start off with that and to give me your feelings on the whole weekend with the girls.
Man, my feelings was on them, man. Man, Connecticut was way too fast for South Carolina. South Carolina wasn't moving their feet, and South Carolina didn't have no down low presence. The freshman Sarah Strong, bro. She was rebounding, she was shooting jumpers, she was taking it to the hole, she was getting putbacks. Like she was a man child down there, man. That freshman for Connecticut. And
Hmm.
then, for Paige Beckers to come back in battle, Paige has had two torn ACLs in her career. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And for her to come back in battle and win the championship before she goes to the WNBA, it's a remarkable story. But if I know anything about, Dawn Staley, Dawn Staley will definitely be back with a vengeance, because, a lot of, a lot, like, she probably is the number one recruiting person that even if she gets some out the portal, she still go down and sit down and talk with their parents like the old coaches did.
Hmm.
She's a family oriented person, so she want to make sure the parents understand who she is and the parents understand what she expects from their children. So, but I was surprised that South Carolina lost because South Carolina has struggled. They struggled against Maryland. They struggled against NC State. They only won
Hmm.
by three. They only won a margin of 3 to 8 points per win, during the tournament. So with that being said, man, South Carolina usually blow people out by 25 or 30. I didn't see that this year in the tournament. And so
Hmm.
and I know Connecticut was on the vision. UConn was coming to play, man. And Gino, he just kept rotating girls in and out.
Hmm.
He kept fresh people on the court, man. And he even with the five that he had on the court, he would kind of change their position, go to the high low, go to the
Hmm.
go to the front post, go to the three wingman offense. So he changed the offense so much, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I just I kind of wish Don had gave him a different look in the second half, but it was the same look from the girls. So you got to kind of
Yeah.
change up your defense, change the offense, and I just think Connecticut was the better team and they won.
Well, I mean, like I told you earlier, I said the thing about I kind of watched a few of the South Carolina games and Connecticut games over the season. I don't watch as much as you do, but I watched enough where I could assess it to say that Connecticut seemed like a better team. They seemed like they was on a mission. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't know. Maybe Gino, maybe about to be up out of here or something. But they seem to be on a mission because they hadn't won since 2018. And I think the boys winning over the last couple of years kind of motivated the girls to get back on their winning ways. So you can. And the thing about it is, Connecticut has been knocking on the door. It's not like they've been out of the loop or fell off. You know what I mean? They just haven't been winning at the same rate that they normally win. So I wasn't surprised I was surprised more at the score. Because you normally don't see South Carolina girls get beat like that. You know what I mean? Normally, even if they lose, it's a tight ball game. It comes down to the wire. You know what I mean? But like they said, like I always say, if you're gonna beat Freddy Krueger and Jason, then you gotta beat them. Like the same way Philadelphia beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the way you gotta beat them. You gotta knock them out the box. You can't play around with it, and that's exactly what Connecticut did. But kudos to Connecticut. But I do got another question to ask you, Jacob. If you you jumped off the screen for a second, if you there. Another question I gotta ask is if is Paige Becker. They kind of trying to put her in the every time somebody wins, it's like every this GOAT conversation thing is crazy because every time somebody wins something, they want to put the person in the GOAT conversation. Now I'm gonna tell you something that was funny to me. Cameron was on his show, and I don't know if you've seen it, but he was talking about he don't really give Paige Becker really no respect for winning. He said because Paige Becker been in college basketball like 6 years, 5, 6 years because of injury and COVID and all that. And he basically said it's a grown woman beating up on little girls. You know what I'm saying? So he don't really give Paige Becker no respect for what she's done. I don't look at it like
I
that.
don't.
You know what I mean? But do I put her in the GOAT conversation as far as, if everybody says it's Maya Moore, it's Diana Taurasi, I think who they got? Is it Brianna Stewart they got in there? I guess they was
I
talking
think.
about maybe Connecticut GOATs or whatever.
You asked me who I think of Connecticut go is no other than Rebecca Lobo. Man,
Yeah. So you got Rebecca Lobo, but I know they saying that fourth spot can change at any time because I guess they had Sue Bird and then one that Sue Bird was there. Now they saying it is for now it's Paige Becker, but I
nah,
don't know. I don't know.
I love Paige. I think she's a phenomenal player. I think she go hard on the court, but I can't put her in that category. Rebecca Lobo and Sue Bird in there. Nah, bro.
Yeah. So like I said, you
And,
watch it more than I do. So
and then
I
and then
Deanna gonna be in there for me regardless.
and then I mean I don't put nobody above Maya Moore in the world.
That's what I'm saying. So Maya Moore, because Maya Moore won 3, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
but if like how I rate girls like Maya Moore, Diana Taurasi, and Sue Bird and Dawn Staley, I go back to when they was in middle school and look
mhm.
what all they did. That's how I rate them. Just like a lot of people didn't agree with Tony Kukoc being in the Hall of Fame. Is you crazy? Why not?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like the the Hall of Fame is not just college or professional. The Hall of Fame goes back to all the way in high school, bro. You know what I'm saying? So with the girls, um, do do I think that Paige is one of them ones that the new eyes look at and say, "Yo, oh yeah, she that chick." But if you're a fan of basketball, if you've been watching basketball since I've been watching it, like then and I feel like you know Cam may have a point, but it's not a major point. But for somebody to tear 2 ACLs and have to have set out for the COVID and then come back and win the championship their last year upon going to the WNBA, I think that's dope.
Well, see, so let's go back to that for a second. So you said Tony Kukoc. Please tell me you don't think Tony Kukoc should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
First of all,
I heard people say that.
if you look at, a lot of us will say we don't think Tracy McGrady should be in the Hall of Fame. Some people have said that. I'm one of the people that don't really believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think his career, yeah, he was a great player, but I don't think his accolades or what he's done in the NBA was enough for me or whatever. You know what I mean? Just because you was a dog and you was great, you was athletic and this, that, and the third, that don't mean you're supposed to be in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm
You,
saying? Hall of
you,
Fame is,
he was only
uh,
a dog for about 4 to 5 years, 6 at the most. Because
look,
remember, for his first 3 years, he played in Vince Carter shadow. You know what I mean?
exactly. So, but Cool Coach won. Okay, so Coach was there from what the '93 season So did he win 4? Or he won a 3? Because I know he was there through the '93. Because he came right after the Olympics, right? The
Yeah,
'92 Olympics.
he won 4 with them.
So he won 4. So you're gonna tell me he won 4 titles with the Bulls. He was very intricate. A lot of people don't talk about him when they talk about all the Pippins and the Dennis Rodmans and all these people. That even they give Steve Kerr credit for being on those teams. Tony Kukoc was very, very valuable. Just look at Tony Kukoc like the Bulls version of like a Lou Williams. You know what I'm saying? Or Jamal Crawford. You know what I mean? He might not have been as athletic or he might not have been as whatever dynamic when it comes to dribbling and all that kind of stuff. But as far as just being productive, he was very productive with the Bulls. You know what I'm saying? There was times where he was probably at least maybe the second leader scorer on a given night, if behind Jordan or whatever. He might have, the times when Pippen was off, Kukoc was one of picking up the slack offensively a lot of
Well,
nights.
well, if we gonna say Tony Kukoc don't belong, you can't say Tony Kukoc don't belong in the Hall of Fame if you're gonna put Mando Ginobili in there because he was Mando Ginobili before
Before
Ginobili.
Ginobili, yep. Before Ginobili, yep. You're right. So we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back here on 910 Sports. Okay, we back here on 910 Sports. But reiterating that, and I didn't think about that. That's another thing. So if Ginobili is in there, Kukoc definitely got to be in there. You know what I'm saying, or whatever, because he won. Like you said, he was part of the four in a row. Well, the one and then Jordan coming back, and he was part of those three. And people say, well, without Pippen, Jordan wouldn't have won those 3 or those 6. But without those 4, who's to say that the Bulls? Because like I said, it was certain nights with Kukoc when Jordan might have not have had it or Pippen might not have had it. Kukoc was the one picking up some of that slack. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Offensively. So you gotta put him in the Hall of Fame. But anyway, let's get on to the men's side of the bracket. When it comes to the Final Four weekend, it was one of the best kind of Final Four weekends I've seen in a long time as far as just being competitive games. You know what I'm saying? Comebacks. Because think about it is, I know I love March Madness because of the upsets. I do. But if you gave me a preference over the 4 number 1 seeds and saying a Creighton or Gonzaga when they started going on their runs or these now Gonzaga almost considered like a Power 5 school because they've been winning for so long now. But if you look at like a VCU or some of these other schools that make a run, but then they get to the Final Four and they get the brakes beat off of them, it's kind of like the college football playoffs. I would rather see what I've seen this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Where you get the 4 blue bloods or you get 4 juggernauts going at it and trying to figure out who's gonna pull it out. Now,
And
go
I
ahead.
say this, I think Houston coach is feeling himself because he kind of throw a shot at the ACC, and but y'all in the Pac-12 or something, and nobody even know Houston had no basketball players, so you should be kind of grateful, man. I be seeing these teams be trying to throw shots at ACC on football and basketball, but the ACC has won more championships in basketball than any school in the nation. Two
Okay.
ACC, two,
Now
two, two.
let's stop there for a second because I know you kind of the old school king and you kind of the disappearing king when it comes to the way the game is played, the way the game is coached, taught, the whole thing. Calvin Sampson is what you would call an old school, hard nosed type of coach. And then
Yeah.
after the game last night, most coaches would have talked about how proud he was of the team and this is one of my favorite teams to coach and this, that, and the third. But he more kind of harped on how they didn't get a last shot and that's unacceptable and that kind of thing. But my thinking was, what did you draw up? In that moment, when y'all need to get that last shot, and you said that basically we was only down by 2, we didn't need a 3. Well, but what did you draw up? Because when they came out of that timeout, it don't really look like they was what you would call intentional on what they wanted to do. First of all, my thinking was like Kenny Smith said, why if you're trying to tie the game up, it's not like in a situation where you're trying it's tied and you're trying to win and you're trying to wait to the last second to get a shot off. If you down 2, you try to get the quickest shots you can get. So if nothing else, you can get a rebound, put back or something like that. Or if you miss and the other team get it, you can foul, and then hopefully they only miss they miss one of the free throws or something. You can maybe get a 3 off. But they literally almost tried to wait to the last second to do or make a move, but you can just tell they was discombobulated. They didn't really know what they wanted to do at that moment. It's like you left it to the kids to decide on what they wanted to do instead of drawing up a play that could have got somebody or look at the basket. Houston had been driving to the basket all game.
I don't think that he's a player. He's a coach, excuse me, that have been in those moments, and you could tell because if he was a coach that had been in those moments before, he would draw some. And hell, you would think he would have drawn up anyway because you was a coach that came from the NBA.
Exactly.
So I think that was really, really, really bad coaching on his part. But I salute those young men for being a Cinderella story because
Yeah.
that's what they were. That's what they were. So, and if you told me that they was going to beat Duke, I would have told you that you're telling a lie. You know what I mean? I didn't even think that game would be close. To be honest with you,
Well, the
I
Duke
thought Duke,
game, the
I
Duke
thought Duke
game.
would
Go ahead.
I thought Duke would at least won by 15.
Well, I just knew with Houston's defense, I felt it was going to keep them in the game. But like I said, at the time when the game was on, I had caught a real bad migraine. They was down by 13 with 8 minutes to go. So at that point, I thought it was over because I just didn't think Houston would have enough offensively, as good as they played defense to get back in the game. And then when I woke up the next morning, they won. And I went back and watched those last 8 minutes. And basically, they just turned their defense up. And one of those things where even Colin Cowherd had talked about it earlier. He said the thing about what he didn't pick Duke early, and thought he was wrong because they had 3 freshmen that they relied on, and he just felt like freshmen wasn't going to be able to get them over the hump. And then later on, of course, everybody started jumping on the Duke bandwagon, thinking they was going to win in the end. And my thing was to everybody I was talking to one of my older cousins, and I was saying basically I said that they overhyped Cooper Flag. I've been saying it all season long. I said it. I've said this. They overhyped the young kid.
Well, I expected Cooper Flag to have 17 to 22. I think he had 22 and 12.
Well, he had
something like that.
27 in the game.
Okay. That's what it was. But this is the thing. They keyed in on Cooper Flag about the first 3 minutes of the third quarter. So the coach should have drawn the play up. I can't think of the young man's name. Kind of dark skinned fellow with kind of plaits or dreads in his head. For Duke.
For Houston?
For Duke. Yeah. And I seen so many people on Twitter saying the second half of that game should have been ran through him.
You talking about the center?
Mm-mm.
You talking about I know you talking about the transfer guy. He transferred from James, Sion James or something like that.
Yeah. So they were saying the way he moved without the ball and the way he can move with the ball, he would have been a mismatch. You know what I mean? Because he don't have to dribble the ball to move. He can really come off the screen with 17-footer. He can shoot the 3, and or you can hit him back door. You know what I mean? So I think they relied on Cooper Flag too much, and I think there should have been certain plays and certain plays that were designed that was drawn up for all 5 players. That's what I think.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and I'm going to rebuttal what you just said. We'll be right back. We back here on 910 Sports. So this is what I was saying was at the end of the day, and I don't never blame the player when they get overhyped. I always blame the media because the player can't decide on who hypes them and who doesn't, unless they're let's say like real braggadocious or something. But he can't control that. They do. And my thinking was they was up by 13 when Houston started making a run, whether it was Cooper Flag saying, give me the ball and get out of the way, whether it was Quentin Snyder's. At this point, you got the best player in the country. Everybody's saying this guy's transcendent. I don't see transcendent. I see a really good player that does a lot of good things good. A couple of things great, but I don't see that. But at the end of the day, if you that guy, you have to realize and take over the game. Case in point, last night when we watched the national championship game, Walter, what's the name?
Walter Clayton.
Walter Clayton Jr. was having a bad first half. He couldn't get a shot off to save his life, but he found a way in that second half to get off and get his shot off and to have a major impact in the game in the second half of that game. He found a way to get open. He found a way to get his shots off. So to me, that's all I'm saying about in this situation. If you're that guy, then you have to find a way to impact the game. It don't got necessarily be scoring. Whether it was you get the ball and make a move, he's strong enough to get to the bucket, dish it off, for a teammate or something. But he really didn't have an impact in the last 5 minutes of the game that he should have had. Where when you seen your teammates in trouble and you seen that they making this comeback, that you have to be the guy to take over the game. So that's why I said those moments. That's what I was waiting. I told my boy Chris, who's a big diehard Duke fan, and when after Carolina, after they beat Duke, after Duke beat Carolina the first time, I said it's all well and good. I said, but ACC was garbage this year. I said he never did have no real competition. And even though, much as we don't like Stephen A. Smith, Stephen A. made a good point. He said it was 3 other occasions before this game that they was in a close ball game that Cooper Flagg didn't deliver in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. So at the end of the day, exactly. So at the end of the day, they talking about if he'd have won this championship, they was talking about him even considered the greatest Duke player of all time. And I said, what? I said, y'all tripping. I said, first of all, you got Grant Hill. Much as I said, put it like this: if you're a diehard Carolina fan, you know who we hated. We hate to this day with a passion. If you see the dude in the street, you damn near touch at him. Christian Laettner. I said, what? Nobody was greater. Well, I ain't talking about NBA career. I ain't talking about nothing else. Wasn't a better Duke player than Christian Laettner. And in Christian Laettner, if you look at the history of college basketball, Christian Laettner is considered in the top 5, whether you agree it or not. Christian Laettner is considered in the top 5 of college basketball. So you're gonna sit here and tell me you're gonna take Cooper Flagg off of 1 championship and put him in the top 5 freshmen of all time in college basketball off of 1 championship when you got the players of like Fab Five, Never Nervous Purpose, Carmelo Anthony to deliver. You know what I'm saying?
With that, what people gotta do this right here. They gotta be like, what they talk about Christian Laettner. And I tell people, every person that he played that's in some of your favorite players that's in the Hall of Fame right now, Christian Laettner whooped their ass in college.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's a fact.
Yep. That's a fact. Larry Johnson. The Fab Five. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them. He like you said, I think he beat Shaq on one of those that year. I think it was Shaq. I think it was the year with Shaq and Chris Jackson was on the team together. You know what I'm saying?
He beat Shaq. He beat Shaq. He beat Jim Jackson. He beat the Kimmy Mutombo and Lonzo and them. Throughout the tournament, man, he beat Derek Williams. You know what I mean? He beat Lawrence Moe and them. He beat Jason. The list go on, bro.
Yeah.
That's the list go on, man. All those Arizona teams and those UCLA teams and UNLVs and the Michigans and the Georgetown, the St. John, like we talking about when he played, when you got that college basketball sports magazine that you buy at the grocery store, you know what I mean? That's when sports magazines were selling like crazy. You knew that the ACC and the Big East was going to be good, and you also know if it was coming out the SEC, and I hear people talk about SEC teams now in basketball, but the only team that we checked for back in those days was Kentucky.
Yeah. You're right.
You know what I mean? And on the West Coast, the only teams you checked for back in them days was Arizona in UCLA.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right.
And then when Tennessee got Allen Houston, they was an exception. And then
Mm-hmm.
when Shaq and Chris Jackson was there, they was an exception. But
Yeah.
for real, the only team that people check for in the last 30 years when it comes to the SEC in college basketball was the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah. Because UNLV had only had that 2-year run with the
Hmm.
with they crew. And
Right.
then with Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon and the boys, that was on like a 2-year run. You know what I
Right.
mean? Loyola Marymount had that 1-year run with, for the West Coast team with Hank Gathers, you know what I mean, or whatever. So that's another player when you start talking about greatest, because was trying to put Cooper Flag already in the greatest college basketball players of the play. And I said, you know how many college basketball players that played that was on another level? You know what I'm saying? If you go back and watch a Hank Gathers, the man was 6'10", 6'11", can handle the ball. You know what I'm saying? Could shoot. He wasn't necessarily a 3-point threat, but he could. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would have been able to develop that part of his game. But down low in that post at 15 foot in hand range, was damn near unstoppable. So,
I'm gonna
so I'm
say
like,
two. I'm gonna say two names, and I know that he ain't terrorized college basketball like these two guys. But one, he and I ain't gonna be biased, so I ain't gonna say Carolina guys, cause I'm a Carolina fan through and through.
yeah,
I'm gonna say he didn't terrorize college basketball like Allen Iverson, and he
oh,
definitely ain't terrorized college basketball like Randolph Childress.
yeah. Mm. And then I was watching a documentary the other day on Allen Iverson. And Allen Iverson was so different in college. Like it was like to me, he was one of them guys. As soon as he came in the door, you know what I'm saying, he was great when he first came in, and he stayed. I think he stayed up his junior season. And Allen Iverson probably could have left off the gate. You know what I'm saying? He probably could have left after that rookie year. But back then he stayed 2-3 years. But
Right.
Allen Iverson was different. You know what I'm saying? In college, and then John Thompson. I put like this, Allen Iverson was so good at scoring the ball. He was the only player that John Thompson actually just let him do what he wanted to do. Had to like basically create the offense around him to the point was like because John Thompson, one of them old school like a Dean Smith, whatever. You gonna play within the confines of the team. This team you're not bigger than the team no matter what. It's scoring, whatever it is. Like if you score, you're gonna score within the confines of this offense.
You know how come?
Even John Thompson said, I had to let the man loose. For us to be successful, him to be successful, I had to let him go. You know
Right,
what
and
I'm
then man, we can't never forget of people like with the Big East. They when they had Adrian Autry and Lawrence Moten, and then when you had Derek Coleman on in Syracuse, and then when you had Alonzo and Timmy McCumble, and you had David Wingate. And
saying?
man, listen, man, and let's not forget when Felipe Lopez at St. John, he was
Yeah,
terrorizing. You, man. So when it comes to that Big East and the ACC, back, I'm gonna say from probably about '86 all the way about to 2003. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
They was terrorizing, man. But they say he the best Duke player. He definitely ain't been Christian Laettner. He definitely ain't been Grant Hill. Definitely been Johnny Dawkins. No,
sure, he
he
wasn't bad. He
definitely.
wasn't. I don't know if he was. He probably would. I wouldn't even say if he was better than Jay Will.
No, he he
I'm
he,
put
he,
it to
he
you like
def-
this. You know who the two players that scared me after Christian Laettner was Jay Will and JJ Redick. I hated them two. Them two, when it came to them Carolina Duke games, when it was Jay Will and JJ Redick, JJ, and the thing about it, I want to say JJ Redick won 3 straight like ACC tournaments in a row, like the way we was like ACC
yeah,
tournament champion or whatever, or player of the tournament, MVP of the tournament, like 3 years in a row. I gotta look back, my numbers might be off, but I know for like I think he won like 3 straight ACC tournaments in a row and dominated. Like
right. I didn't, and I couldn't stand Bob. I couldn't stand Bobby Hurley, to be honest with you.
Yeah, him too. Bobby Hurley couldn't stand him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, so at the end of the day, and you got to think, if it weren't for Johnny Dawkins and them boys, Tommy Amaker, they the ones that put the Duke on the map. Duke was
Mhm.
terrible. It was trash for probably about a good 10 years. Back I don't think they was good up. They was terrible like most of the early 80s, late 70s. And then Johnny Dawkins and Tommy Amaker came along and Jay Billis and changed that whole thing around, whatever. So, but anyway, we're gonna take another quick break and we'll be right back here on 910 Sports. Okay, we back. And I want to say this about the shot last night on the final shot. This is what I know. We talked about it earlier. This is what I always was thinking. We will be thinking on that shot. If I was him and I seen him flying at me like that, I would have still either took the shot and either he would have had to block it, or I might have leaned in a little bit, kind of get like a lean type of deal, so he'd kind of
Call
fall into
five.
me and foul. You know what I'm saying? But but at that point, when you midair like that, that's really the only decision you have. You really can't. You can't really do the little foot because that happened a couple of times last night. Even before that, a couple of players did that where they kind of did the kind of like jump, drop the ball, whatever type deal. Like when you in the air like that, you just got to go ahead and take the shot and make them either have to block it or foul you or whatever. I mean, like what else you gonna do in that situation? So that
I
right there,
just
that kind of didn't make any sense.
I just think a person who ain't never been on that stage, that's a costly mistake. And at the heat of the moment, you're not fully thinking. So I
Yeah.
think that's what happened.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I don't blame them at all, man. I hated to see either one of those teams lose because it was such a great game. It was a great fought game. I was talking to them in the barbershop. I said the first half they wasn't calling nothing, boy. They would let them boys be physical. It made you feel like old school basketball. So I was like, everybody who complained about basketball not being physical, watch this first game half of this Houston, Florida game, because them jokers wasn't calling nothing, and they was hacking and knocking each other down and doing all kinds of stuff. But I think the reason why they started calling more fouls in the second half because it got too chippy. The coaches was started chirping and coming off the bench, and then like you said, the one you see the one Florida guy when he got mad and threw the ball down, slammed the ball down. I think at that point the referees was like it's getting a little bit too, the tensions are getting too high. We need to get control of this game. So then you started seeing the fouls starting to pile up a little bit more in the second half, which worked in the favor of Florida because Houston is already a physical team anyway. That's the way they play.
Mm.
But Florida, it kind of helped them because now once they kind of understood where the game was going, and Clayton started driving to the basket and taking it, and getting his shot off a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what kind of helped Florida get back in the game because I thought they were going to get blown out when they got down by 12. I said, oh, you know what I'm saying? This about to go the other way. And then Florida got back in the game. So,
Man.
so anyway,
Yeah.
we're going to,
So
anyway,
before
go ahead. What you say?
go ahead. I say when we come back.
No, we're going to a break. I was going to go to the next topic. Go ahead.
Well, before we go into the Lakers in 5 and all that, you know, before we go into that, how does Shedeur Sanders not have the strongest arm? I'm not understanding.
You know what? This thing is
Man,
stupid.
listen,
You got an all-time high pay. I'm like, just because you got a dad that's very arrogant. The thing about let's just look at it. Deion Sanders any different than Larry Bird in
no.
arrogance? No. Because the reason why I say that, the reason why I bring up Larry Bird, and we just thought like once again talking about the barbershop. Larry Bird was very arrogant, but he can back up what he did. Deion Sanders is very flamboyant, and a little cocky, whatever. Back in the day, and still is now. But he back up what he says. He
It
took control.
ain't no difference between Mike being cocky and Kobe being cocky. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Ain't no difference from people don't want to admit it, man, but Derek Jeter was very cocky.
Yeah. See, the thing about it was when a coach or a player comes back at media the way that Deion will, because Deion will challenge the media at times, and they don't like that. You know what I'm saying? They want him to be one of these guys that just answer the question the way they want to answer, and he's not going to do that. He's going to give you what's on his mind. He's going to give you the straight up real answer or whatever. And my thinking is, you got okay. Yes, I understand that Shador was coached under his dad, but him and his dad took two programs and turned them completely around. They changed the whole landscape of black football. This is I ain't gonna say HBC. They say black football.
Yeah.
Completely black football. HBCU or black schools. They changed the whole entire landscape, and then now they have contracts where they see get shown every Saturday mornings on ESPN. Deion Sanders and Shador and Travis Hunter did that. Then they go to Colorado to a white school. Let's keep it a bean. It's a white school that we've been purgatory. That's been terrible for since the late '90s, and put them back on the map. You know
Terrible
what I'm saying?
sense. Terrible sense quarterback Cardale Stewart.
Exactly.
That's
So
what I said.
Cordell Stewart, and that was back in '90 what? Shoot, I don't even.
Like
I might have been lower than
like
20. Might have been staying in 30.
like like Cardale Stewart came out probably
It was in the
like
'90s. I know that.
not 96, 97, something like that.
Yeah, because I know it was in the '90s because Cordell Stewart used to come to my hometown in Southern Pinehurst, and play golf back when I worked Outback and Outback in the '90s. So I know that was back then when he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers as Slash. So
Mhm.
so this was back then since the last time Colorado been relevant in any kind of way. They was a 1-11 team.
Y'all
Dion
must have
came
one.
in.
Y'all must have one of the best golf courses in the country.
Yeah, Pinehurst is considered. You got to think Pinehurst is one of the golf courses they use for the U.S. Open. Once you know how U.S. Open rotates every year. So
Right.
so every 4 years, Pinehurst is one of the golf courses they rotate to for the U.S. Open. You know what I'm saying? I think they have little smaller tournaments there too, but the major tournaments like the U.S. Open and the Masters and all of that, and that U.S. Open is played at Pinehurst once every 4 years, I believe. Now,
Right. Yeah.
you know what I mean, or whatever.
Okay.
So they definitely considered one. They what they say they him, they them. That's the golf course that people go to, and all. Like I told you, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Dean Smith, a lot of the guys who in their off season, that's where they go. They come to Pinehurst to play golf. You know what I mean, or whatever. So, yeah, I don't. I just said it's kind of funny when you hate somebody or dislike somebody so bad, and then they kid. This is the part I don't like. Whether it was the ball kid, whether it was LeBron, whether it's this one or that one. I
Hold,
don't like
Icon.
when the kids
Icon.
suffer. Huh?
Hold that thought. You heard the news, right?
What?
The Nuggets have fired Mike Malone.
What?
It just came across my Twitter timeline.
What do you think?
Yep.
Something had to happen.
Hey man, I
Something had.
don't know, bro. I don't
What?
know, bro. But
Hold on. Hold on.
they said
Oh,
the Nuggets
you motherfucker,
fired
man.
the
You got
Nuggets
you
fired
got
Mike.
you got you got me getting up. You got me getting out my chair. You got me getting in my chair like I'm doggone Ocho Cinco.
Hey man, listen,
Mhm.
man. The Nuggets have fired Mike Malone.
That's crazy. Hold on. That's crazy. That's crazy talk to me. They better. This better be a troll. This better be a troll or fake news.
I don't think it's a troll, man.
What? My God, as soon as we get off of here, as soon as we get off of here, I'm going straight to ESPN. Something had to happen. This cannot be because of coaching. He had to slap somebody in practice or something because Mike Malone crazy as hell. So he had to do
Yeah.
something. It ain't because first of all, Denver's still in the thick of things. Secondly, they've had a lot of injuries this year. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter been in and out of the lineup or whatever. So it got to be something else that went on for them to be. He must have went in and slapped the GM or something. You know what I mean, or whatever. GM must have got out of pocket. But we gonna find out because that's definitely breaking news that he got fired. Golly, like, boy, ain't nobody say, good Lord. Anyway, we're going to take one last break, man. You got me thrown off with this one. Dang, God, we'll be right back. Man, breaking news: Mike Malone got fired. And the thing about, I ain't really a big fan of Mike Malone. As far I respect his coaching, but I'm not a big fan of him because every time they lose or something happen, he always got something slick to say. And then when they win, he try to troll. He be slick trolling or whatever. Whether it was that year when he tried to slick troll the Lakers and them, or he just got, or if they lose, he like a Steve Kerr. They lose, they sore losers, and they complain about referees and all this other stuff. Like y'all just some sore losers. Like I don't like coaches like that. You know what I'm saying? When they winning, it's all good gravy, and then when they lose, it's everybody else's fault why they lost instead of the way you coach the game or the players on your team or whatever. So I don't like that
That's
type
right.
of coaching. But anyway, man, I was gonna get into. We just got to get it. We got to talk about this at a later date, whatever. But
Okay.
so I'm just gonna say this to everybody. I thank everybody for watching us for the last several years. We've been together since 2019, I want to say, and it's going on almost 5 years for me and my brother. So we about to take this thing to another level. We got a couple of different situations. We're gonna be back with our homegirl Tamika and 810 Studios. We're gonna be back on Roku, Apple TV, radio, different platform, even Augusta. You probably see us at least maybe once a month on Augusta, Fox Augusta, or whatever. We give y'all time slots and all that kind of stuff in the future, here in the future. And then also we gonna be sliding over with CTR Media Network with Dr. Tina Ramsey. And we're gonna be doing radio over there on a major platform. They have over 100 million viewers over there. So basically, that's basically what the big announcement is. So y'all stay tuned to bigger and better things with what we got going on, and we'll be sending out posts and all that kind of stuff here soon. And also continue to support us with 168 Radio, because that we definitely be doing some big things with that. Y'all might, no telling will be like you. Ain't no telling where you'll see me and Jacob show up at. That's all I'm gonna tell you. You know what I'm saying? We might
No
show up.
doubt. No doubt. No
We
doubt.
might dang and show up in your living room. You just never know. But we gonna be a
That's
little
right.
bit everywhere. You know what I mean? Very, 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 very soon. But on the way out, just give me your thoughts real quick on this is the last week of the NBA season. Going into the playoffs. What's your thoughts on who you believe who's the team right now you favoring towards the two teams? You don't gotta say necessarily you don't gotta make a true prediction, but who's your East team and who's your West team and who's your dark horse?
Um, Cleveland and the Lakers,
Well, Cleveland
and
Lakers in the finals.
right, and so and the two Cinderella teams for the East and West. The Cinderella team for the East. Well, I ain't gonna necessarily call them a Cinderella team, but a team that might creep up from behind would be Boston, and a team on the West that might creep up from behind would be Golden State.
Okay. Well, I mean Boston, I don't think people call them creeping up because they the world champs, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Um,
but they ain't had a stellar season this year like they had the previous year. That's why I said that.
okay, I got you. I got you. Well, my two teams I picked. I'm gonna go with the Lakers and see because I just think Thunder is kind of young. So they had a great regular season. We've seen this before. Remember, I always take it back with Toronto. Remember, Toronto would dominate the East in the playoffs, and then when they get to the playoffs, I mean the regular season to get the playoffs, and Cleveland and LeBron would beat the brakes off of them. So I
Yeah,
don't I
yeah,
don't never I don't ever take a
but
whole lot of stock in the regular season like that.
but I will say the honorable mention team on either side will be Houston for the West and Indiana for the East.
Okay, so I would say the Lakers. And I'm gonna say Cleveland. I'm with you on the Lakers and Cleveland on that end. I would say my all other two, what you could say, dark horse teams. Other than because Boston is right there, so I would say Boston. But I don't know. I feel like Cleveland maybe be able to can get them. But I'm gonna say for the East, uh, I would have said Milwaukee, but Dame Lillard is out, and they say Giannis dealing with an ankle now. I don't really have like maybe New York, maybe if somebody catch an injury, New York could slip in and maybe catch fire in the playoffs. So I would say the Knicks maybe. And on the West Side, I would say I'm gonna tell you, give a team that kind of would scare me. I know you said it ain't scare you, but I would say the Clippers if Kawhi Leonard stays healthy. Now I'm gonna tell you why I say the Clippers if Kawhi Leonard stay healthy because I want to see it. You know what I'm saying? Because we've never seen it before, like Kawhi Leonard since he's at Toronto be healthy in these moments. So if he's,
Yeah,
I want because I want to see a playoff where nobody gets hurt, but we know that never happens. But I would love to
right.
see everybody at their A game and to see a Kawhi Leonard run it, and then James Harden to see if he can finally get over that choking in the playoffs hump. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to
Yeah,
see. And then Norman Powell is their X factor. He's that guy. He's their Tony Kukoc or whatever you want to call it. He's their
yeah.
the Reeves. So I want to see. But that's who I would say the Clippers. I would say loosely Golden State also, because Golden State would do anytime you got Steph Curry or whatever, and you say what you want about Draymond, they winners. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, and then you go and we do got playoff Jimmy. So you just never know with that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I would say those are the teams I would be looking. I just don't think Denver. I think Denver lost too much over the last couple of years. I've been saying that. When Denver
Right.
lost Bruce Brown and then they lost Jeff Green and then they lost this one and that one, I said, well, shoot, they keep losing players that's really intricate parts of the team. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that's too much
Right.
to keep overcoming. But anyway, man, it is what it is, man. Another great show. We'll be starting our new season sometime the end of the month, probably Easter weekend. Actually, we'll be coming with some new episodes and some new looks to the show. And you know what I'm saying? Y'all just be looking out for us, and y'all keep rocking with your boys. You know what I'm saying? It's your boy Icon King Jacob, and we out of here.
Peace.
Peace.